Hi kids, I'm Rodney.
And this is Primally Plated.
Okay, so today's episode we're going to do a little South American groove on here. Not necessarily from one country or area. We're going to kind of borrow from a couple different places, but try to stay true as much as possible to some authenticity. So today's main dish is a grilled skirt steak with chimichurri sauce. We're using outside skirt steak in Argentina. They call it entraña. You may say, Rodney, ¿habla español? No, I speak restaurant Spanish, which basically means outside of food. I can cuss at you or tell you what dishes I need cleaned. You know, when you talk about feeding your family and having a great value and not having to throw down a bunch of dollars for all kinds of expensive beef, especially when it's grass-fed, this is a great value and a great cut of meat. So this is, in your butcher shop you might see this called unrolled skirt steak. But this is the entraña, and that's how much you get for, I think this was maybe $7 or $8, $6, something like that. I don't know, I'll have to look at the receipt. So we do not need all of this for our application today because we're just going to make one dish. So I'm going to cut a super groovy piece right out of the center here. Marinades are fun. We'll do some marinades down the road, but all you really need is some good salt. I've got my little salt kit here that's got salts from different areas. I like a medium coarse salt here for this, and we're going to use some New Zealand sea salt. We've got the meat seasoned. Throw that on a plate. We're going to put that aside and just let that salt sit and do its thing. What we're going to do first is chop up some of the Italian parsley, and like I've said in previous episode, we're not going to tear off these stems because that's all the sweet good love. Now on the basil, fresh basil, we're going to actually pull off these fatter stems. Basil, obviously, parsley has a sweeter tart component. Basil is going to lend that beautiful basil sweetness I think most people like and enjoy. We'll go with 4 good size cloves of garlic and a couple of small ones here, and we're just going to do the whole garlic thing, smash them up and chop them really quick. So we're just getting a rough chop. Break that garlic up a little bit. We're going to spread it out, and we're going to take the knife, flat part of the knife, and smash it out a little bit so it's easier to chop. That is a shallot, just in case. Little thin shavings here of the shallot. Do the slow big chop thing again and roll off the tip. Use that bevel, hold your hand on there. Now we're not in any way cooking this stuff. We're just going to bring it to a simmer for a couple of minutes. Put that in, and I'm just going to taste it, And I think we can actually cut that down with a little bit of, you want the vinegar to be prominent, but you don't want it to make you pucker up too bad. So that seems a little rounded out. So we're looking like we're getting there on the heat factor. And we're just going to pop that garlic, pop the shallots right in there. And we're going to let that do its thing. We don't really want it to boil. We just want it to be infused into the liquid. And since we're using dried oregano, fresh oregano, it's just really inconsistent. This Mexican dried oregano, I like it a lot. But since it is dry, we don't need a lot of this stuff. But we're just gonna put a palmful of that in, and that's going to help moisten those oregano leaves. So I would say that we've got enough going on there to pull the flavors from that, and we are just going to take that gastrique, we're going to get that into a bowl and just let that cool down a bit. We're going to take said plantain, hang on, and we're just going to cut it on a real sharp angle. If you haven't worked with plantains before, it's kind of got to get your hands on them. Like I said, when they're young and green, they're super hard, like a yam. These are kind of not as soft as a banana, and like I said, when they're young, this peeling would never ever come off like this. But the fact that it's sweet and older and ripened, we really don't have to do anything to the plantains. They're hint of banana type flavor, hint of yammy type flavor, starch. You know, it's a it's a paleo acceptable starch. So we're just gonna drop it right in some nice warm coconut oil. We're gonna finish this chimichurri, so we're gonna go basically in with the parsley, in with the basil, and we're just gonna start to ladle some garlic and vinegar in there. Mix that in with this dry. Alright, so now we've got your gastrique that had the shallots, garlic, dried oregano mixed in with the parsley and basil. And we're going to put a little bit of cracked black pepper. We're going to give that a whirl, mix that up. This chimichurri is so easy to make, it's crazy. You know, once you get everything prepped up. And we're just going to hit this now with, I don't know. Now to finish it off, I'm going to put in some fresh lime juice, and I'm just taking my fork into half of a lime and using that to convince all that juice to come out. I'm going to stir that up so it's liquidy. It doesn't have too much liquid from the water and vinegar. It doesn't have too much oil to where it's kebab. We've got our seasoned with just salt meat. We've got our pan hot. We're just going to drop that on a medium-high heat in the pan. Sear that bad boy. Okay, so we are good to turn this meat. It's nice caramelized on that side. So see the striations in the meat? That's what I was talking about. You know, you want to cut meat across the grain for the tenderness, but this cut of meat is super flavorful. It's super affordable. Man, I'd take this kind of stuff over filet mignon myself any day. After you sear meat, before you put it on the plate to enjoy, you want to let it rest. Let it sit. Let it bleed out so you don't have the juices dripping all over your plate, mixing into whatever your other items on the plate are. And you want to let it rest and relax for a minute so that it's more tender. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to plop that on the cutting board for a second, turn our burner off, and let that bad boy sit for a minute. We're going to take and slice this sort of London broil style across the grain. We've got our super lightly tossed fresh spinach with just lime and olive oil and salt and pepper. We've got the sweet plantains sauteed in coconut oil. On the spinach salad we've got the fresh tomatoes and Brazil nuts, and then we're going to just take this beautiful fresh green chimichurri sauce, and we're just going to drizzle some of that over top of the entraña or skirt steak, and that is a wrap. Man, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm having for lunch as soon as we turn this camera off, kids.